What's up, everybody? My name is REDRUP. This is the It's Not a Phase podcast. On this episode, I'm joined by journalist, publicist, and podcast host Tori Kravitz. We dive into Tori's discovery of alt music and the scene, her beginnings as a journalist, becoming the pit reporter for Van's Warped Tour, returning to the industry after a brief hiatus to become a publicist, pitching her podcast She's With the Band to Knotfest, and loads more. Before we get the chat going, please consider taking a few seconds of your time to support the podcast. You can hit subscribe or follow wherever you're checking this episode out so you don't miss out on future episodes. You can leave a review or a comment, give the podcast a follow on social media, and there's also a Patreon and a web store if you did want to go the extra mile. You can find all of the links to everything that I've just mentioned in the description of this episode, or you can head over to itsnotaphase.co.uk. Now that's done, here's my chat with Tori Kravitz. What's up, everybody? Thank you for joining me on this episode of the It's Not a Phase podcast, where I'm joined by journalist / content creator / publicist / podcaster / full-time legend Tori Kravitz. How you doing?
So many slashes. Yep, that checks out. But yeah, I'm great. I'm great. I'm just happy to be chatting with you. Like, we've crossed paths a couple times, worked together a lot. It's like overdue that we have a proper chat. So Thanks for having me.
Yeah, because we briefly bumped into each other, didn't we, at you were over here at a Harriet show in Manchester, and we kind of bumped into each other there. So
yeah, and I remember being like, "Wow, he's tall." Yeah. It was cool seeing you there.
Yeah. Well, yeah, let's kind of start at the beginning, because obviously I've just gone through quite a few things that you do, and we'll cover them off one by one. But let's go all the way kind of to the beginning. When did you start like having an interest in alternative music and heavy music and that whole scene?
Oh, you want to like totally take it back. I think you'd be like, so when was your first interview? No. Origin story.
The root cause. Yes. Yeah. Origin story. Yeah.
The root cause.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's funny because like when I was younger, I really was like a Disney pop kid. I loved pop music, Hilary Duff, the Jonas Brothers, stuff like that. And then it all took a turn as like middle school happened, which I don't know what years that would be over in the UK, like how to,
right,
I don't know, translate that into your language.
How old roughly are you?
I was probably 12, 13.
Right, so that's our high school kind of years, yeah.
Okay, yeah. So our middle school year, high school. And I started getting bullied, as most kids do around that age. And my music just progressively got more angry as like my form of coping and, just growing pains, family pains, bullying, feeling like an outcast. Like that was just the music I gravitated to as like a form of like, it was just cathartic.
Yeah.
So for me, like it started out small. It was like, Hey Monday at first, where I'm like, ooh, there's guitars in this. And,
angsty.
The Somerset I loved and the Cab and things like that. And after going to my first Warped Tour, I was like enamored by the metalcore bands. That was in 2010. And then just really found an interest in bands like Bring Me the Horizon, Asking Alexandria, Attack, and it just like slowly built. Breathe Carolina was another good gateway band for me.
Yeah.
It was just like through music discovery. At the time it was like iTunes, you would be like, cool, you bought this 99p song, so here's another one for you. And I was just going through, MySpace at the time was big for music discovery. So it was just like through word of mouth, suggestions on iTunes, and needing like music that resonated with how I felt as a teenager,
Yeah. Do you remember what when people used to buy albums, do you remember what the first album was that you bought?
Oh, 100%, because I still have it literally next to me somewhere. I'm not going to pull it out because that'll derail us from the podcast, but it was Backstreet Boys' Millennium.
Wow. Okay.
And it was like on a loop in the car every day when I'd get picked up from school. Like Larger Than Life was my anthem. Yeah, Backstreet Boys.
So each
CD,
lyric,
like physical CD,
front to back then.
Oh, without a doubt. Throw me in a karaoke bar, give me only Backstreet Boys Millennium. I got you. I don't need to look at the screen.
That's a bit different to mine. I got the first bit of music I bought was a single. It was Eiffel 65, I'm Blue on cassette tape. So that's a bit of a throwback. Yeah. And then the album was Anthology by Alien Ant Farm. So
Oh yeah, we went very different routes with our first choices. I mean, I was pretty young, so Yeah, I mean, I remember also rating like my parents' CD collection, which was sparse when I was
Right.
young, and it was just my parents didn't listen to rock or heavy music, so it was really something I had to figure out on my own as I got older.
Hmm.
Like that was a solo journey.
Yeah. Do you remember your first concert as well? Was that Backstreet Boys too, or
It was Hillary Duff.
it's all right?
Yeah, it was Hillary Duff 2003. I was 8 years old. Cried like a baby because I was one.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was Hillary Duff.
Do you remember that show well, or I mean, you were
Oh
eight, so
yeah. Oh no, I remember. I was talking to my mom about it recently, actually, how I'm so grateful that, I mean, she's always been so supportive of music and my love of music and took
yeah,
me to all of the shows when I was a teen and took me to Hillary Duff in 2003. And that was such a pivotal turning point for me where I really understood the power of live music and how emotional it made me feel to be in a room. Like it was the first time I was ever in a space with thousands of people who all loved the same artist as me. And coming from feeling like an outcast for most of my time in school, it was revolutionary. Like that started something, whether my mom knew it or not. So yeah, it was I remember it very well. I remember what shirt she was wearing.
yeah.
You know,
So that,
like those moments, they say like something with a very high emotional charge is something that sticks in your mind, right? Like things that really make you feel something. So
yeah,
I couldn't possibly forget that.
yeah. So I guess that kind of, in a way, was like a chain reaction to obviously the path that you've taken, and I guess that leads me to my next question, which is, when did you begin to learn about, what music journalism is and people interviewing bands and artists and thinking to yourself, you know what, I'm keen, I want to do that thing, I'm interested in that.
Yeah, it started really with MySpace when street teams were a thing. Did you all have those over there
Yeah.
too?
Yeah, we had to learn,
Yeah.
yeah. Yeah.
Oh yeah. So I was the girl handing out promo cards at concerts for my favorite bands and like always posting about music on MySpace, like just the word of mouth promotion and like getting to interact with the artist and be like, how can I support you? How can I get the word out? And that was just the way you promoted music back in whatever 2009 or whatever year.
Yeah.
And so I was just really passionate about that and just through meeting other like fellow fans ended up meeting a girl who had a music blog and it was all super DIY,
Hmm.
and she had asked me if I wanted to interview a band for her blog and it was a band called the Downtown Fiction. Did they ever make it to you? Oh, I loved the Downtown
They
Fiction.
weren't very big here, but so the only song I can remember that they did was that Super Bass cover for one of the Punk Goes
Oh, I
albums.
think that might have been them.
Yeah,
Yeah, they
yeah.
did do a Pop Goes Punk. So, or Punk Goes Pop. Oh God. It's been a long time since I've listened to those albums. Yeah, so she asked me if I wanted to do that interview. That was a band that I was really heavily supporting on MySpace at the time. And so I went and did it for her. And it like blew my mind to go back into the green room, meet them in such a private setting, get to ask them anything I wanted. I don't know, that might still be on YouTube somewhere. I really hope not, but it probably is.
If you dig away deep enough, you might find it.
Uh, if you're good enough at lurking, it's out there. And it was horrible. And my mom filmed it on like a little point and shoot camera. And but that was really crazy to me that like she was just a fellow fan and had a blog. And because she had a blog, she could go do those things. And well, that was a no-brainer. Start a blog immediately. And that's where it started.
Yeah, yeah. It's weird, isn't it? Like, because my first interview was kind of like going into like a green room. Mine was with "Cute Is What We Aim For."
Well, that's a really cool first one.
Yeah, yeah. But yeah, I've not gone back to it for a long time for good reason because it was horrendous. Like, I think I asked like I kind of went down a slight Brian Stars approach and asked some random questions. Didn't ask about the porn star name, but yeah,
Oh no. Well, I
yeah,
went the honestly, I don't know which approach is worse because mine was like, so how did you come up with the band name? And questions like that. It was no better.
yeah.
But
But
that's the thing, like it's interesting because both of us have stayed in it for so long, but neither of us were naturals in the beginning.
yeah,
It doesn't happen right away.
you just got
So
to kind of learn as you go. Like the more you do it, the better you get, and you just it's okay to make a mistake as long as you learn from the mistake.
yes, that is the key. That
Yeah.
is and mistakes to me are like little gifts. To me, anytime I make a mistake, I'm like, wow, what a great learning moment. I'm grateful that I made a mistake because now I can figure out what I did wrong and not do it again. But
Never make that mistake
yeah.
again. Yeah.
So like, for example, that Downtown Fiction interview, my mom was filming it, and she left her ringer on as we were about to start. Mind you, my hands are shaking. I'm so nervous, blah, blah, blah. Her phone goes off, which now we know, obviously turn your phone off for an interview, because her ringtone was TikTok by Kesha.
Classic.
Blaring. So embarrassing. So that was lesson number one. Turn the phone off.
So not TikTok by, is it Woe Is Me? I think did like a metal cover.
Yeah. Oh, I don't know. You're a very good encyclopedia of the Punk Goes Pop covers.
Yeah. Bit of a nerd, yeah.
I mean, same. Look, I remember Breathe Carolina did a cover of Jay Sean, Down. That was a good one.
Yeah.
The Cab, Disturbia.
Yeah, I think they did.
Not nerdy.
Is it? I can't remember what it's called. I Can't Wait to See You. They did Miley Cyrus, didn't they? Is it I Can't Wait to See You Again?
Oh, yeah, they did. Yes.
Unearthing all the classics tonight.
We could go down a rabbit hole and just listen to Punk Goes Pop this whole episode.
Yeah. But yeah, you mentioned obviously being nervous for that interview. Do you still get nervous now at certain interviews? I guess obviously less so, but maybe like the dream interviews of like the kind of artists that influenced you so much into, being who you are today.
Yes, 100%. But it's not the same kind of nervous, because when I was younger, I think it was nervous out of a lack of confidence in being able to do it. And I think now it's nervous in the sense of I feel great responsibility when, for example, Lizzie Hale was one of the last interview I just did. Having her leave the venue, drive 20 minutes, take the time to come to my podcast studio and speak to me. I felt great responsibility in making sure I used that time really wisely, because that's somebody who doesn't have a lot of time and was gracious enough to give it to. Well, I want to make sure that I use it wisely, ask really important questions, and get to the things. Like with artists like that who have such a catalog and have done so many interviews, you don't want to ask redundant questions. I don't want to ask silly questions, or like, I just want to get to really good conversation. So I feel nervous in the sense of responsibility I have. Like I felt that way with Tatiana from Ginger too, because she doesn't do a lot of press anymore and is really protective of her space. So I felt nervous in wanting to make sure she was comfortable and make sure that it was a productive, good conversation. So it's a different kind of nervous, but yes.
Yeah. But yeah, you mentioned the first kind of blog that you did. So that was Rock Forever. I think you started that in 2010. Yeah.
Yes.
I've not digged on the site. I've not looked that far, but I think you did that for like 5 or 6 years, roughly. And then, how was that time in your career? I guess it wasn't a career at that point, but obviously the whole point was it was going to lay the foundations of what would then be your career.
Yes. I mean, I would not be anywhere without what I did with Rock Forever. Not only was it great because it was low pressure in the sense that it was totally DIY, so I was able to kind of learn as I went without anyone telling me what to do. And I was so young, and it was all just figured out as you go. But that was such a positive experience for me. Again, my mom must have filmed almost every interview on that channel. So like, kudos to her. Like we were a team. But she loved it too. It was so much fun. And it was a great outlet for me because, as I said, I was such an outcast in high school. So for me, that was my way of finding my community. I would, during lunch when I had no one to sit with, I would go in a classroom and just work on the blog or write or request interviews. And it gave me a sense of purpose and belonging and confidence, because I had something that I was successful in and doing really well and like felt like I was working towards. And I didn't know where it was going at the time. I really had no goal other than I just loved doing it and wanted the numbers to grow so I could keep doing interviews.
Yeah.
But it was just like and I got to meet so many of my favorite artists. Like, wow, I was a fan. I mean, I'm still a fan. I wouldn't be in it if I wasn't. But back then it was all really surreal when I would get, an interview with Never Shout Never, or I don't know, like Black Veil Brides. I kind of had imposter syndrome because I was like, wow, I get to do these things. So I'm still extremely grateful for that.
Yeah. Well, I guess a lot of it is then like, tunnel vision. And I mean, I don't know about you, but I would like try and send emails, but even like the biggest artists, like if I don't ask, I don't get. And that's just the way it is.
Yes. I mean, I remember requesting an interview with Deftones when I was 16. Who did I think I was?
Oh, yeah.
That Chino was going to minutes. But yeah, you never know if you don't ask. I mean, I got an interview with Ariana Grande just by asking. You would
Wow.
never think, right? So yeah, 100%. That's a big lesson. And I'm
Yeah.
sure like you felt the same way doing, because you did DIY, had your own site and all of that too. So you had to go through the same thing.
Yeah. Yeah. Like I say, just learn as you go. Ask, don't if you don't ask, you don't get. And sometimes I pulled in things that I just never thought I would get. And so
Like
yeah.
what?
Um, well, I think like the first time I interviewed like Ball and for Soup, I thought was kind of like a big one because like yeah, they're not the biggest pop punk band in the world, but they're fucking huge, aren't they? Like they're a
Yeah.
staple in the genre.
Yeah, I mean, they're cultural icons for
Yeah,
sure.
yeah,
That's
definitely.
sick.
Yeah. And then obviously you went on to becoming the Vans Warped Tour pit reporter for a few years.
Hmm.
How did that even happen? Like what's because over here we didn't really have the Warped Tour. We had like a UK version for a little bit, but
Yeah.
so I don't know what that process was like.
That was, my gosh, the most special years of my life. And getting that job was the most, it was, it completely ate away at my existence to get that job. I mean, to be honest with you, like when I started Rock Forever magazine, one of the people I looked to for inspiration was the pit reporter in 2010, which was Tiffany Mink. So I always loved, worshipped the Warped Tour pit blogs, because those are the daily videos of the tour. When you
Hmm.
can't be there, you get to watch it and feel like you're there. And it was always just really special to me. So I think in the back of my mind, it was always a goal to get that job. I didn't know how at all, but I just always was like, I'm gonna figure it out. Like
Yeah.
if the opportunity arises and I can do it, I'm gonna like I have to do this. It would be a dream. So it was 2014, late 2014. Warped Tour puts up a post. We're looking for a pit reporter. Submit your application videos. Those application videos are still on YouTube from me too. And so I submit the application and I include like clips of my old interviews from Rock Forever, almost as like a hosting reel, but then
Right.
also making a case for why I should be the pit reporter. Because I mean, gosh, I loved Warped Tour. I covered it every year. I flew out to some dates sometimes. Like it was the highlight of my year every year. So from there, they narrowed it down to, I think it was like the top 5 submissions, and it was fan voted, which was terrifying that like my dream job was in the hands of a bunch of strangers.
Of the public, yeah, yeah.
Like the worst case scenario that could happen is a fan voted, oh, you want your dream job? Get the votes. I mean, so thankfully, I'm so grateful. I had the followers from my YouTube channel, which at the time were probably 30,000 subscribers, combined with all these band members who I now had a network with that I had interviewed, some of which I'd kept in touch with. I was campaigning. I was in a presidential campaign for myself, posting every day. I was DMing every artist I'd ever interviewed saying, can you please reshare the link and tell people to vote for me? And I had people from The Story So Far, Silverstein posting, telling people to vote for me.
What an
It was
endorsement.
chaos. Yeah, quite the endorsement.
Yeah.
And ended up getting it with an 80% lead,
Wow.
which I mean, I campaigned. I wasn't sleeping at night. I was so determined.
Yeah.
So even with those people posting about it, I still was like, I have to do everything I can. Like
Yeah.
this is my one shot. And then voila, Warped Tour
Mhm.
2015. There I was on my first tour ever with my first professional journalism gig ever. On a bus with
Amazing.
Brian Stars, by the way. Crazy, crazy year.
Well, to link back with what you said earlier, I guess you made your own street team to get the job.
That's very full circle of you. I didn't think about it that way, but
Yeah.
yes. Yes, I started a street team for myself.
To get the dream job, and you got it.
Yes, yes. I was
Yeah.
persistent for sure.
Isn't it crazy to think now though that there's people who are kind of learning about the scene and starting to get into the scene who have started after Warped Tour finished, like so they've never been a part of the scene since like during Warped Tour's existence.
It's like BC and AD, except it's like before Warped Tour and after Warped Tour.
Yeah.
No, really, like that's crazy to me because that was so monumental in my coming up as a music fan for music
Mm.
discovery, the highlight of my year for so many years. I feel really sad for anybody who doesn't get to experience that. I'm not trying to like rub it in,
Mm.
but yeah. I mean, I did work to UK as well, and that was super fun. It was
Okay,
so good.
which year was that? 'Cause the only one I remember is I just remember Attila opening.
It was 2015 Ali Pali.
Yeah, I can't even remember the lineup now, but
I remember Memphis Mayfire was there, Creeper was there, Asking
that might have been the
Alexandria was
same year,
there.
maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah, and obviously that all happened like during, the MySpace and Tumblr era, which was like great like platforms for the scene. Like, how do you feel like music journalism has changed over those years as well?
Wow. Good question. For me, I think the thing I've noticed is it's less about the big websites and the big publications and more about the small content creators like yourself or like Jesse Lee, and like TikTok. It's really, I mean, don't get me wrong, like Loudwire and stuff, they have their power, they have their place. I still look at them, Metal Hammer, all of those sites are great. But I think there's a lot more value in word of mouth than there used to be.
Hmm.
And these content creators that are just posting reels with music they love and you just finding music that way. And those are the voices right now, like the live streamers, the content creators. So I remember like when I was in college, because I studied broadcast journalism,
Hmm.
and my professors were telling me that social media wasn't journalism. And I think they're all really taking that back now.
Yeah, yeah. Like there's so many people like you say like streamers and TikTok and even like people on Twitter. Like there's a few people on there that are just sharing new music and stuff, and people
Hmm.
go there instead of
Yeah.
or along with the bigger publications like you say.
Yeah, I think they kind of go hand in hand and have similar power now, which
Hmm.
definitely wasn't the case many years ago. So, I mean, it's interesting because I think even when I did the Pip blogs, that was a time where I was a rookie being a social media content creator. Like it was weird that I was vlogging, And now it's beyond normal. If anything, I think a lot of artists are really prioritizing content like that because it's so organic and
Hmm.
relatable and all those things. Yeah.
Hmm. I think it's also like the advancement of technology. Like everyone's got a camera on their person at all times now,
Hmm.
whereas back then you had to go out and specifically buy a camera that could do the video and it would have decent quality video. So
Yeah.
yeah.
I mean, the first Warped Tour I went to, where I was already doing interviews, I had to bring a notebook to write the set times in. Like my phone didn't have a good notes app to write the set times. And that was 2010. Like that's not even that long ago.
Yeah.
So a
And
lot's
you don't even get
changed.
notifications of like when sets are cancelled or changed or anything like that. So you just turn up like, what's happened?
I think at the time Twitter existed, but it was when you still had to text in and you would have to subscribe to the people you wanted to get tweets
Oh,
from texted to you. It was like that point
I
of
forgot you even had to
Twitter.
do that. That's a that's a throwback.
Like, why would you need to do that now?
Yeah.
No, no, no. I don't want tweets texted to me,
Yeah.
please.
Well, you mentioned doing journalism and studying journalism and kind of it being, I guess, archaic in like some of its views and stuff. And I did journalism as well in university, and they made me do shorthand. Have you ever done shorthand before?
Shorthand. I don't know. Have I? I don't know if we would maybe call it something else here.
It's basically where when you're doing like an interview, you'll instead of like obviously recording the interview, you'd write down what
Oh
they say.
no.
So you have to do like
No.
small symbols for like whole words and stuff. And I think
Never had to do that.
to pass the grade, I would have to get 60 words per minute. And basically they basically just played a tape of like someone speaking, and you'd have to like write down whatever they say, and then they'd see what was right and what was wrong. And yeah, I've not used it
I
since.
honestly,
So
I think that would be a really good skill. I sort of wish I would have done that, but no,
Mhm.
that missed me,
Yeah.
thankfully. But I did have to report the weather. So,
How was that?
you know, to be honest, I think I crushed it because everyone in my class, because I was kind of quiet, I really kept to myself. It seemed like I didn't care because I just had my own things going on at the time. Like
Hmm.
I was already on Warped Tour and doing AP, alternative press and stuff. So I just was tapped out. So I think all my classmates just thought I was incapable. And so then when I get on camera, they were like, "Oh shoot." So she can speak. So I enjoyed it because it was like kind of my moment to shine.
Yeah,
Yeah.
to show what you
Literally
can
because it
do.
was sunny outside that day.
Well, you're in Florida, so it's always sunny there.
You're mistaken. It rains every day between 3 and 4 o'clock.
Oh,
Tropical weather. Oh yeah.
I went to Florida in 2016 and it was just heat for me, but yeah, I'll take your word for it.
Yeah, I mean, it is always hot,
Yeah,
especially compared to the UK.
yeah,
So,
yeah. And I
yeah.
can't stand it because redhead heat's my enemy. So
You know what? The stereotypes live up, I guess.
yeah, yeah. Unfortunately, yeah.
Actually, I saw a reel you had posted where you like stepped outside in all black. That was funny.
Yeah,
That was good.
yeah. Well, that's the only color I've got in my wardrobe. I can't do anything else about it.
I know it is crazy that I'm wearing gray today. I don't know who I think I am,
Yeah, showing your true colors.
except neutrals.
Yeah.
Can't even wear color. But yes.
But yeah, so now you also, you do journalism, but you also do publicity. And I guess there'll be people listening who don't quite know what publicity is in the industry, what that kind of role publicity is within the industry, and what the connection is to make everything kind of sync together. Obviously, publicity kind of goes hand in hand with journalism in varying degrees. For people who are listening and don't know what publicity is and what publicist does, in your words, what is that role within the industry and the scene?
Yeah, great question. So basically, my job is to help artists tell their stories. And so, really, the main way that I do that is by matching up the artists with the journalists, to put it simply. So, you know, I work with an artist hand in hand to figure out what are your talking points? What makes your music interesting? Who are you? What's your identity? What is your upcoming release? What does it sound like? How do you want to be perceived by the public? And then we kind of put that together in a nice package, in a nice email, which you get from me
Mm,
frequently. And then really figure out, okay, who are the podcasters, who are the magazines, the outlets, anybody who makes content about music, who's going to be interested in this music and want to speak about it, talk to the artist to get their story out there. And so I'm kind of the matchmaker between the artist and the people who help get their stories out there, which obviously as a journalist, it very much goes hand in hand,
mm,
because I know what a journalist is looking for in the stories they want to cover, or how to tailor, you know, the emails, the pitches, those pitch emails to the publication. So that's, I guess, long story long.
yeah.
Yeah.
Do you think doing both simultaneously kind of helps you personally in both roles one another? Like doing publicity helps you when you're doing your journalism stuff, and journalism helps you when doing your publicity stuff. I think you kind of touched on it there, didn't you? Like, what a journalist is looking for when you receive something from a publicist.
That's a big one for sure. Like, I know what I don't like to see in emails, or what subject lines I'll never open because I
Mm,
get pitched by other publicists, because obviously I have a podcast. I still do journalism. So I'm really on both sides. In addition to understanding journalists, I think it also helps me when I'm working with publicists, because now I fully understand the process of scheduling interviews.
mm,
So it makes it really not, I don't want to say easy, like it's still, I have to request like everybody else, but it's definitely helped with understanding all the inner workings of how interviews get set up. What can I do to make a publicist's job easier when they're helping me set up an interview with Lizzie Hale for my podcast, or
mm,
those kinds of things. And yeah, just I have a general better understanding of the industry as a whole. Like, I think before getting into PR, I wasn't completely positive. Okay, what does a manager do? What is radio syncing? Like, all these moving parts that happen with a music release. Now I'm fully on the inside with it. So
mm.
yeah, it's great. It's great
Yeah.
experience.
Yeah. I think you kind of, you touched on like all these different pockets of the industry. And I think you do something on your podcast that like I do is kind of like highlight different industry roles that people might not know about. Like when I was in high school, there's no chance I would know what a publicist is or anything like that. And I think sometimes highlighting roles that exist until you know what they are, you might even know that that's something that you want to do. Like there'll be people listening who want to be a part of the industry, but they don't want to make music themselves, or they're just not very good at making music, so they know that's not like the path. And they're like, well, what is a manager? What does a manager do? How do I even get into that role to begin with?
Yeah, I mean, this is really just media relations. Like, anytime that you see a feature on an artist on a website or a blog or wherever you get your music news, there's a very, very good chance there's a publicist behind it or an incredibly professional DIY band, but usually a publicist.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
yeah, and obviously writing skills are really important in a job like this. Understanding how to create a story, how to speak to people, good communication skills, all that stuff goes into it. Like for anyone thinking about it, you know.
So what made you want to do it yourself? Because I think you did obviously the pit reporting for a few years, and then I think you had like a brief hiatus from being involved in the industry. I think you focused on like fitness or something. Was that right? Yeah.
Yeah, I was a personal trainer for like 2 years.
Oh,
I was,
wow.
well, it was like group fitness. So I was
Right.
like coaching people how to run on the treadmill and lift weights and stuff and all that for 2 years. Yeah, that, I mean, I didn't hate it, but it was definitely a small identity crisis.
Hmm.
Yeah, but for me, getting into publicity, I think journalism's a tricky one because it's rarely consistent. It's rarely enough to pay your rent. And it was just a grind. And I when Warped Tour ended, I really wasn't sure what my next move was. I was doing little freelance things, but I just wasn't focused or knew where I wanted to go. I was requesting journalism jobs, but it was just really tough.
Hmm.
So to me, PR seemed like the obvious route where I could still use the same skills that I was using when I was blogging. I
Hmm.
mean, I love writing as well. Like that's something that was really underutilized when I was in my previous job. So to me, it was just the most seamless route for me to keep working in music, the music I love, but actually have a viable career that could sustain for a very long time without feeling worried about where my next job was going to come from.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing, isn't it? With music, there is certain jobs, like you say, journalism, and even just being in a band, there's not
Oh
always
yeah.
consistency in work and money, and that's obviously scary.
Yeah. Yeah. And when I had the realization, the first person I asked for advice was Amy Shreddo from Adam Splitter. So super full circle that I'm with her now.
Yeah. And then obviously, as part of your kind of return to journalism, you started the podcast. She's with the band. I think that's
Yeah.
about nearly 2 years ago now, I think,
Yeah.
which
Oh
is
no.
crazy.
Wow. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, like maybe more than a year and a half. Yeah, we're getting on 2 years.
Yeah. And for people who don't quite know what it is, like you're obviously highlighting female voices and representation and experiences within the scene, not just artists, but people within the industry itself, which is obviously an incredibly important thing to do because even though things are better than they were 5, 10+ years ago, there's still work to be done. How
Yes.
did the idea of the podcast come about? And then I guess you think about and then pitch it to Knotfest, is that right?
Yeah. It was a really crazy sequence of events. So I was already in PR, not with Adam Splitter at the time. I was with like a very small boutique firm. And I remember I had a really cool metal band and I was like, you know what? I'm gonna go for it. I'm gonna pitch Knotfest, see if Knotfest is interested in covering my band. And I emailed the content director for Knotfest and I'd never spoken to him before, never met before, didn't know him at all. I get a response. Warped Tori? Is that you? And I was like, no way. This guy, no. And he remembered me from my work on Warped Tour. And so we connected and I was just like, wow, that's really cool. But I was still out of journalism. I wasn't doing any hosting at the time. I was really just focused on PR and trying to make that work. And it just had always been in the back of my mind that I missed doing interviews. Like that's my origins. It's what I love and it's what I'm really best at. So a few months passed. I had worked with Knotfest for quite a few coverage pieces for my clients. And then I just was like, I'm going to shoot my shot. So I reached out again to the content director of Knotfest and I was like, hey, if you're ever looking for any hosts, I actually really love the integrity of Knotfest. I love what the website stands for. And I think it's some of the best quality content in metal right now. Let me know if I could get involved. It was the most immediate, yes, let's get on a call ever. And I found out when they launched Knotfest, they had considered me as one of the early choices for a host. And I'm like, well, you could have told me.
Yeah.
No, but and then that's where She's with the Band was born because it was like, okay, well, what do you want to do and what's important to you? What kind of content are you interested in? And I'd always wanted to do a podcast. And touring, I've really realized the challenges that women are still facing, which like you said, things have gotten better, but I don't know. It's interesting because I don't think the misogyny is as outward. But it's still very much happening, but it's just a little quieter. It's a little more of an underbelly now. So the point of the podcast isn't necessarily to rant and rave about feminism and misogyny. That's no fun for anybody. But I think the more that I can spotlight women who are just really doing amazing things, and okay, well, what are your accomplishments? What are you amazing at? Show me like how great our contributions are to the metal scene. And the more I can spotlight that there are so many of us and it's not that weird or crazy anymore that we like heavy music, the more normal it could be that we could just be treated the same. Like that's really the goal, is like I don't think women are any better than men, but let's all just be on the same playing field together because we all love the same thing, which is metal.
Yeah, and that's what it should just be about, like the love for the music, not if you're a boy or a girl or whatever.
Yeah. I've even had, I mean, I know that the gendered. However, you know, if any non-binary artist wanted to come on the podcast, I've had a couple of transgender artists on the podcast. Like, I want it to be as inclusive as possible just to show the diversity because, you know, I think about it in terms of like when you go to a venue and the security guard triple checks a woman's credential but not a man's. It's like, well, if they see more women with credentials, maybe they'll think it's less weird, right? So it's kind of the same thing of like the more I can just put it in people's faces that we're in the scene too, the less taboo it would be.
Yeah. Yeah, it's strange, isn't it? Because I think you are right. Like, it is a bit kind of a underbelly thing. Like, you still get people that say just because this band has a woman singer, like, sounds like Paramore, or they'll say female fronted bands, not a genre. Or I think I saw Courtney from Spirit Box. She got like someone commented on one of her photos saying, or one of her videos where she's doing a vocal take, and they said, "Oh, you scream good for a girl." Like, that's a backhanded compliment at best. And it's like, I think some people have the best of intent when they say things, but it's just ignorance and
they just don't know better.
Yeah. And
yeah.
so I think you are right,
I was wearing a Pantera shirt not long ago and actually got a "Can you name 3 songs?" I couldn't believe it. It wasn't a joke. But people are even still surprised at the music that I listen to. And I think until it just becomes normal, like we're just going to have to keep being loud about it.
Yeah. And it shouldn't be name 3 songs. It should be suggest 3 songs. Like,
yeah. I mean, so that's really the point of the podcast. It's really not about ranting though. It's really just like, let's talk about what you're doing. You're so freaking cool.
Yeah.
Tell me about your band. Tell me about your amazing accomplishments. Let's celebrate you. And I think just by having a podcast on Knotfest that is all about women, like I've done my job because we're on Knotfest more than we would have been without me.
Yeah. And that platform's massive for those important conversations as well with people who are doing great things.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah. And you're doing a lot more kind of in-person conversations now, as opposed to, I know you did, you still do some on Zoom and stuff like that. Do you prefer face-to-face chats over a Zoom call like this?
Yes, because I don't know, I'm just so big on rapport and body language and just there's a different feeling when you're in person with somebody. Don't get me wrong, this is a great chat, Zach. I'm not dissing our conversation at all. You've been but there's just always, it just hits different when you're with somebody in person. And I think it also just it's more special, like when you have that bond in that moment over, sitting, having a cup of coffee, doing a podcast together. It just, it feels more intimate, feels more special. I don't mind Zoom though. I actually just did a Zoom interview just this week. So it happens still for sure.
Yeah. I mean, we got all used to it from the pandemic anyway, didn't we? So
I know. I was like, I could just not leave my apartment and have all these social interactions, which is kind of my dream as a bit of an introvert. I know I don't seem it, but I love it.
Yeah. Well, you started as well the podcast. It was you and Alicia, wasn't it, for a little bit, and then she's obviously too busy and stepped down to focus on other things. So it's kind of you solo now as the host. How's that undertaking been for you to kind of, I guess, to do it on your own? I don't know how much involvement Knotfest have in other than like publishing the interviews and stuff.
Yeah, it's been good. I mean, to be honest, not too much changed on the back end. Because originally it was my series that I had pitched, and then Alicia was a part of Knotfest before me, and I just thought it would be sort of great to bridge the gap with Knotfest's audience be like, well, here's someone familiar coming to the podcast. I'm a new face, so let's do it together. And Alicia's rad. Like, she's so talented as a host. I have nothing but respect for her. But yeah, she's been doing more of the wrestling hosting now, and I think her style of music that she listens to is sort of veered from the metal stuff, although I know she still enjoys it. But it was just sort of like we were going in different directions. So yeah, it's been smooth sailing. And I think sometimes as a host, it's hard to juggle like two people asking questions. Be like, oh, were you about to ask a question? No, I was gonna ask a question. So now it's seamless. It's nice and easy. So yeah, but Alicia's crushing it on her own too. So I'm really happy for her.
Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, I'm just asking because obviously I host this podcast on my own, and I just know like there's scheduling the interviews, doing all the social media, and it can be a lot for one person, can't it? So
yeah, I've always been the admin girl, which is why I was saying to you, like, I have no time ever. Because like I have the full-time PR job. I, do campaigns for, between 13, 15 bands at a time. And then yeah, I'm the one booking the interviews. I always have been. So I'm really hands-on when she's in the band. Knotfest has been really gracious to give me their platform and some of their resources for editing. Thank goodness. If I had to edit this podcast, I'd go nuts. I wouldn't never sleep. But yeah, like I still do all the social media posts. That's all me and all of that. So I get to choose all the guests, which is great.
That's great, yeah.
Yeah.
You got any dream
Integrity
guests
is a big thing to me.
Sorry, say again.
Sorry, no, I was just gonna say integrity is a big thing to me. So I always want to be hands-on with things I'm doing. Maybe I'm a control freak. Maybe that's actually the problem.
Well, I think it's kind of like, there's that saying, isn't it? If you want something done right, do it yourself. Not to say that anyone would do it wrong, but I guess if you've got like a vision and it's your baby, then you kind of want to see it from start to end as much as possible.
Exactly. Yeah. No, I agree.
So have you got any dream guests you want to have on the podcast that haven't come on just yet?
I've got a couple. The first for me, Taylor Momsen from The Pretty Reckless. I think if I remember correctly, The Pretty Reckless was the first band I saw at my first Warped Tour in 2010. And she was just but when I was 16 and she was just coming out, we were so close in age. And I think it was really important for kind of just feeling empowered and stepping into my power and I really tapped into her energy when I was younger, and I found her to be such a great inspiration, and she continues to be. So as long as she doesn't have rabies from the rat bite that she got, or not rat, it was a bat.
Oh, the bat. Yeah. That was crazy.
Bat bite. As long as she's doing good, I'd love to have her on the podcast. And Elisa from Arch Enemy is another huge one for me. I mean, aside from just being, gosh, what a phenomenal metal vocalist. She's also a fellow vegan. So there's a lot to relate on together. So those would be two dream ones. But Tatiana from Ginger was the top of the list. So now that that's happened, I'm like, okay, Taylor Momsen, it's your turn. Yeah. Elisa, let's go. Yeah.
And you also did, you've started like a new segment with Knotfest. That is it. Beyond the Breakdown. So that's like another kind of thing you're doing to help highlight these other things that kind of happen in the background to make the shows work, and these jobs that people have behind the scenes that maybe fans don't know about.
That has been the coolest project I've ever been a part of. A dream project to be a part of. There's only one episode out right now, but there's another one coming really soon. We have I think 6 or 5 episodes recorded, and they're all incredible. Some of them filmed in the UK, some of them filmed in the US. And yeah, it's really just to spotlight how a show comes together, like all the ins and outs of building a live show production. But we're choosing bands that have really special shows. Whether it's someone like Electric Callboy, who's a little more silly and fun and out there and costumes and confetti and all of that. Or if it's someone a little more serious, like I will say Creeper will be on it at some point soon. And, obviously their theatrics are amazing. Yeah. I got to hold the Will head and everything. So yeah, like it's really just about showing the crew, like, the production managers, sound engineers, guitar techs, you name it. And what are all those jobs? What are those people doing? And really how much is going on to build a show than you realize, because it is so much work. I mean, it starts at 9 a.m., goes on till after the show, and they're building, and there's so much involved.
And like, just imagine people setting up festivals, because that's like a several day thing, and then packing down as well, that's a several day thing.
I know. Yeah. And obviously that's a lot to cover. So
Yeah.
these are about hour-long, 45-minute episodes on Knotfest Premium. So these are like documentary style.
Mm.
So it's like pop your popcorn, put it on the TV, enjoy.
Yeah. Sit down, but get comfy. Yeah.
Yeah. And we've got cinematographers and everything. It's really, really cool.
Wow. Amazing.
Yeah.
Well, there's going to be a question that I think pretty much everyone's going to be asking right now. You obviously juggle a lot. How do you do it? Like, how do you balance all that stuff?
I ask myself the same thing every day. I'm just really disciplined with a routine. I think that's really what it comes down to. Like the owner of Adam Splitter PR, every morning, 8 a.m. sharp, I have a check-in email from her. I'm up at 7 doing my emails, so right at 8, I'm ready to check in with her. I work, however many hours I do my day job. And then afterwards, it's okay, let's schedule the social posts for She's of the Band. Let's make sure all the interview requests are going through. It's just staying organized and on a routine, and just staying focused, really. But yeah, I'm also all over the place, and my social life, maybe not the best.
Yeah.
But, for me, like, I love what I do so much. So for me, it doesn't feel like work, especially like all of it. So with that in mind, it's easy for me to juggle it all because I want to and I love to. So there's really no question about it. And I'm grateful to be a freelancer, so I'm able to jump in and out of all these things all the time.
Yeah, it's a good thing to have. But how do you have like a management tool, I guess, or is it just kind of like autopilot, like I know this thing has to be done and this has to be done after this, and I don't know.
Zach, do I have to-do lists galore? So there's an app, if anybody's looking for a good to-do list, I use an app called Todoist.
Right.
It's
Okay.
Todoist, and that's on my laptop. And so that's a color-coded digital to-do list.
Wow.
I use that for all of my PR schedules because, I need to know release dates, press release due dates, so many things. And then I just use my calendar app on my phone for anything personal or like Knotfest related. But then I also use Google Docs all the time. So I keep a running Google Doc of all the tour dates coming to town of bands for She's of the Band, interview schedule. There's a lot.
No.
Yeah.
Then,
Hopefully that's helpful though.
So obviously after you've done your day job, you've done all the stuff for She's of the Band. How do you then decompress? Like what's that like? Do you ever decompress?
Melatonin's good.
Yeah.
No. I actually love to read. Like I love reading books. I have like a huge stack you could probably see next to me of all the books that I have yet to read. There's probably like 10 over there. But because everything I do is on a screen, at the end of the day, I just need to not look at a screen. So like TV and movies don't quite work for me. I need just something physical in my hand. I love the Lo-Fi Girl live stream on YouTube. That is on a constant rotation of just lo-fi beats. No, I don't listen to metal while I work. And just things like that keep me grounded and just having hobbies. Like I enjoy cooking. I still love fitness. So all of that gets me out of my head and into my body and just able to relax.
Yeah. So I guess it's just like with my day job, I work in social media, and so I'm just constantly talking to people all day. And then obviously doing the podcast, I'm emailing people all day. So once I've done all the stuff I need to do in that day, sometimes I'm just like, I just need to not be speaking to anyone just for a few hours, just so I can kind of be human again.
Yeah, I really try to nourish my friendships as much as I can, but yeah, I usually take at least 1 to 2 days a week to not socialize for the same reason. I imagine, are you an introvert too?
Yeah, 100%.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I need that recharge time. Like tonight, I'm just going to a movie by myself. Just going to the movie theater. Or sorry, the cinema.
The cinema, yeah. Or the pictures, we call it as well.
Oh my gosh. Okay, yeah, I'm going to the pictures.
The pictures. What are you going to see?
But yeah. It Ends With Us. Chick flick.
Chick flick. Okay.
Well, it was a book I read last year, and to be honest, I didn't love it. So I just want to state that for anybody listening to this and judging me. I didn't love the book, but there is sort of a treat of, okay, I read the book, now I can go see the movie.
Yeah.
So taking myself on a little date.
That'd be good.
Yeah, not too shabby.
Yeah. So I also want to offer you the chance to highlight some, female artists and bands with females in them. in the scene for people to check out, up and comers that, give them a bit more of a platform. Who, in your opinion, are names that people should be checking out and helping to blow up?
Great question. I'm actually going to pull up my little playlist because I want to make sure I don't miss anybody. The first one for me is Deadlands, Casey Carlson. I'm sure
Great
you
band.
know, like great content creator on Spotify, or it's not Spotify. Am I okay? On TikTok,
Yeah.
Instagram, all of that. So she's amazing as a vocalist. Her band Deadlands, they just got signed to Spine Farm Records literally this week. So
Yeah.
that's super exciting. Let's see, who else do I really want to make sure? There's a band, oh my gosh, I'm blanking on what they're called. Hot Milk, that's a good one. Those are
Mm.
your UK people. Definitely.
Manchester
Oh,
locals. Yeah.
Manchester locals. A great friend of mine, Lexi Lane. She is so kick-ass as a vocalist. Like, I don't know if I've ever heard anybody sing like her. I just got to see her out in LA. I really want to give a shout out to Lexi Lane. This is a little more on the pop rock side, but Leah Martin Brown. She's
Mm.
she had a band called Evil Walks, but now she's doing a solo thing. She's killer too. Oh, Tooth. If you're into like doomy metal,
Right.
Tooth is a really cool band. But I do have a playlist because clearly I can't remember. It's like when somebody asks you your favorite song right now and then
Yeah.
all of them
And it
leave
just
your
goes
brain all
blank.
at once. It
Yeah.
just goes blank. So I do have a playlist on Spotify, on Knotfest Spotify profile, where I'm always adding like
Mm.
new bands I've discovered or like really great new releases. And really that's the best place to go to
Right.
find all of the good femme artists, because it's
Yeah.
literally that's all it is.
Yeah. Well, I'll throw a few in from the UK just to represent this side of the pond. As everything unfolds, I don't know if you've checked them out. They're
Yes.
great. Yep. Harriet, obviously we both know who Harriet are.
Love Harriet. Thank
Yep.
you.
Ithaca, they're a great band as well. Bacovi, I know you know them as well because I think you spoke to Janine. And
Yes.
Lake Malice, they're a great band as well.
Calva Louise, too. I want to give a shout out to
Yeah.
Calva Louise. Yep. And Future Palace. They're doing cool
Oh
stuff
yeah.
too.
Yeah, they've got an album coming out soon, I think. Yeah.
I'm handling that if you want an interview, anybody
Wink,
listening.
wink.
Yeah, a lot of great bands.
Yeah.
No shortage.
No. And yeah, like you say, check out your playlist and you've got plenty more where that came from.
Yes, sir.
So people listening who have heard your story, heard the 20 million things that you do, and want to still get involved in journalism themselves, what advice would you give them to kind of like take that first step? What do you wish you knew when you first started that would have made things a little bit easier?
Let's get existential. Yeah. I really just start. I think people wait for an opportunity or wait for a publication to take them on. And it's really hard when you don't have experience to figure out where to get the experience. And the best thing you could do is get involved in your local scene. Interview your local bands, just start somewhere. And like you said, request. Even if you think it's somebody you'll never get, you have to believe in yourself, or else who else will? So request the big interviews. You never know what's going to come your way. Each no gets you closer to a yes.
True.
Yeah, and it's so easy to start your own publication, and that's a really great way to build a portfolio, whether you want to be a photographer, you want to be an interviewer, you want to be a writer, all of those things, that's a portfolio, and you don't need to wait for anybody to do it for you. Yeah, and I know sometimes being confident in the music industries, it's a scary thing. It's a daunting industry to be in, so just fake it till you make it. That's what I did, I didn't feel confident for a really long time, but eventually you start to believe it if you just fake it. So just put your chest up, lower your voice down a couple octaves, always downswing when you ask a question, and good luck.
Stand tall. Try and hopefully be a bit taller than everyone else. Yeah.
Yep. I always say, like, imagine there's a string pulling you at the top of your head, and there's your posture.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's all I got.
And what else are you doing for the rest of 2024? What's planned for the podcast? What's going on?
I'm still working for Adam Splitter PR, which is great. Lots of amazing releases coming this year. As far as the podcast, it's every other week on Knotfest, posted on Mondays. A lot of great guests coming up. I can't even begin to tell you. I'll be out in LA in October filming a ton of interviews, and LA is where all the people are. So
Yeah.
the episodes are going to be good. Beyond the Breakdown, there's more episodes coming soon, like really top tier bands. I wish I could say, I'll tell you off camera who the next guest is. You'll be stoked. But yeah, Beyond the Breakdown is a really awesome series. So you can subscribe on Knotfest Premium to check that out. There are short clips on YouTube if you want to get a taste for it before you actually subscribe. But that's it for now. Yeah, just keeping me busy with those things.
Yeah, definitely. Well, Tori, I do want to say thank you again for coming on, sharing your story, sharing your experience. And yeah, it's been great. Have you got any final words before I let you go? I think we've covered pretty much everything. But yeah, floor's yours.
No, just thank you for making it through this hour of me yapping the whole time, just yapping away. So thank you for being here. I appreciate it. And if you enjoyed my yapping, there's a lot more of that on the internet. So follow me at Tori Kravitz. The podcast is SWTB Pod. And just thanks for your resilience through this podcast episode.
Thank you for your patience and understanding. Well,
yes.
Yeah. Thanks so much, Tori. Yeah, I'll let you go and enjoy the cinema, the pictures, the theatres, whatever you want to call it. And yeah, I know, no doubt you and I will stay in touch. So yeah.
Of course. Thank you.
Awesome. Bye. And that's it. Thanks so much for tuning in to It's Not a Phase. If you enjoyed this episode, then don't forget to hit subscribe so you don't miss out on any future episodes. Leave a thumbs up if you're watching on YouTube. Follow the podcast on social media. And maybe even join the Patreon or grab some merch from the store. You can find everything that you need at itsnotaphase.co.uk. That's itsnotaphase.co.uk. Thanks again. Hopefully catch you on the next one. And remember, it's not a phase, it's a lifestyle.